The time for answering the question has expired. Senator Whish-Wilson.
My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Trade, Senator Payne. This morning, former Australian trade negotiator Dr Ruth Lopert, now one of Minister Rob's so-called scaremongers who has questioned the secrecy of Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, publicly stated that the TPP will cost possibly hundreds of millions of dollars to the government in higher medicine costs. She goes on to say that through intellectual property and patent law changes, the taxpayer will be paying more, and ultimately, if this affects the long-term sustainability of the PBS, that will likely be pushed onto consumers through higher co-payments. She gives the example of the drug Humira, which is a biologic used to treat arthritis, where a one-year delay in the market entry of a follow-on version of that drug to a competitor would mean savings foregone of roughly $44 million a year. Will the government rule out changes to Australia's domestic intellectual property or patent laws via the TPP that will punish Australian taxpayers?
The Minister for Human Services representing the Minister for Trade, Senator Payne.
Thank you very much, Mr President. I'll take the more specific aspects of the last part of Senator Whish-Wilson's question on notice and seek some advice from the Minister for Trade. But what I can say is that the government has made its position on the TPP process perfectly clear. That is, we won't accept any outcome in the TPP that would adversely affect Australia's health system. We will not sign up to any international agreement that restricts the Australian government's capacity to govern in Australia's own interests, whether it's in the area of healthcare, the environment or any other regulated area of the economy. What the minister has also made absolutely clear, Mr President, is there has been extensive consultation in the process leading up to the TPP development. It was, in fact, I think we're now up to over 1,000 stakeholder consultations since 2011. That includes, Mr President, 150 with a broad range of stakeholders who are interested in public health issues, for example.
Point of order, Senator Whish-Wilson.
Point of order on relevance, Mr President. I specifically asked about the cost to Australian taxpayers.
Thank you, Senator Whish-Wilson. Up front, order on my right. Order. Order on my right. Senator Whish-Wilson, right up front in the answer to the question by the minister, she indicated she would take the specifics of the question on notice and is enhancing the answer with her comments. The minister's in order. Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Had I been able to finish the sentence, I was going to say that those 1,000 consultations included 150 with a broad range of stakeholders interested in public health areas, 50 in the past year. They include Medicines Australia, they include Choice, they include the Public Health Association, they include intellectual property experts. And in fact, Mr President, just for passing interest, it also includes 14 consultations with the ACTU, for example, re the Labor chapter of the TPP. The stakeholder consultations are invaluable in shaping our negotiating positions. So, Mr President, I said very clearly when I began that the government will not accept a position in the TPP process. We won't accept an outcome in the TPP that would adversely affect Australia's health system.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Whish-Wilson, a supplementary question.
Last night on ABC 7:30, Dr Stephen Parnell of the Australian Medical Association, perhaps another on Minister Rob's scaremongers—
Order, Senator Whish-Wilson. On my right. On my right. Senator Whish-Wilson.
Mr President?
Yes, we'll reset the clock.
Thank you.
Again.
Last night on ABC 7:30, Dr Stephen Parnell of the Australian Medical Association, perhaps another of Minister Rob's scaremongers, said in relation to the TPP and medicines, the details really matter here. And if he says the PBS is protected, but the agreement extends intellectual property rights or patent laws in favour of pharmaceutical companies, then the reality will be the opposite. How will the government assess what impact the TPP will have on domestic medicine prices, and what assurances can you give the Australian people medicines won't rise?
The time for asking the question has expired. Minister.
Thank you, Mr President. Let me repeat. The government's position is clear. We will not accept any outcome in the TPP that would adversely affect Australia's health system. We will not sign up to any international agreement that restricts Australia's capacity to govern in its own interest, whether in the area of healthcare, the environment or any other regulated area of the economy.
Thank you, Minister. Final supplementary, Senator Whish-Wilson.
I asked how that was going to be assessed, Mr President, but here we go. The Productivity Commission, the Pharmaceutical Patents Review and most recently the Harper Review into Competition Policy, another bunch of scaremongers, have all recommended that an independent economic analysis of the intellectual property and patent provisions in trade deals be carried out and published before any negotiations are concluded. Will the government listen to these groups and ask the Productivity Commission to undertake an economic analysis of IP and patent provisions in the TPP and publish it before it is signed?
Thank you, Senator. Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr President. I'll take the senator's question on notice and seek advice from the minister.
Thank you, Minister. Senator